One of the things I noticed when marking your tests was we could do with a little bit more practice of dealing with expressions that look a bit like this. These are expressions that involve brackets, but more importantly involve negative numbers. The particular skill was highlighted particularly in the proof questions, also in the functions questions, but particularly in the proof questions. So I'd just like to go through a few examples just to refresh your memory of how you might deal with expressions that look a bit like this. So to begin with then, with this particular one, I'm going to note that n plus 3 squared means n plus 3 multiplied by itself. And n minus 3 squared means n minus 3 multiplied by itself. So I'll have to do all of this, take away all of this. So I'll start doing FOIL on this one. So that's n squared plus 3n plus another 3n and then plus 9 from there. But then I need to take away all of this. So for a moment, I'm going to need to just group it all together. It seems strange that I'm expanding brackets, and to do that I'm putting more brackets in. But what this is saying is take away everything that's over here. If I didn't write this brackets, the minus sign would only apply to the very first thing I wrote. So I need the brackets. N times n is n squared. N lots of minus 3n, minus another 3n, and careful here, minus 3 times minus 3 is positive 9. So we're going to do all of this, take away all of this. I think the next thing I would like to do is collect the like terms. So I'll say that 3n plus 3n is 6n. And I'll collect the like terms in the brackets as well. Minus 3n, take away another 3n is minus 6n. And now I need to expand the square brackets. So I can say what this really means is minus all of this is minus one lot of everything that's in the bracket. Right, I'm taking away one lot of everything you see in the bracket. So what have we got? Let's expand those brackets. Leave this bit alone. Let's expand these brackets. Minus 1n squared. Minus 1 times minus 6 is plus 6n, and minus 1 times positive 9 is minus 9. I can now simplify this. I've got n squared take away n squared. Well, that cancels out. No n squareds left. 6n add 6n, that's 12n. And 9 take away 9, they cancel out. So the final answer is just 12n. The original thing simplifies to 12n. Right, so another example, very similar idea. This whole bracket squared, take away all of this thing squared. So first of all, note the squared means times by itself. So this is 2n plus 5 times 2n plus 5. I will need FOIL to expand that. And I'm going to take away all of this thing squared. Squared means times by itself. Now let's do the FOIL. I'll stop drawing the lines under there now, I think. So 2n times 2n is 4n squared. 2n times 5 is 10n. 5 lots of 2n, another 10n. 5 5s, 25. That's the first bracket expanded. I now need to take away everything that you see here. So I need to put the brackets in because it's everything here. If I didn't write this bracket here, the minus sign that I write only applies to the very first thing I write. So I do need it. 2n times 2n is 4n squared. 2n times minus 3 minus 6n. That's another minus 6n. And minus 3 times minus 3 is positive 9. Let's collect like terms first of all. So this is 4n squared. 10n plus 10n is 20n plus 25. Minus 6n, take away another 6n is minus 12n. Add 9. Now I can expand the big brackets because really it's one lot of everything that's in the brackets. So let's leave this alone. 4n squared plus 20n plus 25. That's going nowhere. But minus 1 times 4n squared is minus 4n squared. Minus 1 times minus 12n is positive 12n. And minus 1 times 9 is minus 9. I'm now in a position where I can collect the like terms. 4n squared, take away 4n squared, cancels out. 20n, add another 12n is 32n. And 25, take away 9 is 16. So 32n plus 16 is my final answer for this thing simplified. Okay, last one then. This time I've got 10 lots of all of this squared, take away 3 lots of all of this squared. BIDMAS applies, the squaring must happen first. So I'm pretty much going to ignore this 10, and this is 2n minus 1 times 2n minus 1. So just interpreting the squared symbol as meaning times by itself. Then I'll need to take away 3 lots of all of this thing squared. Notice how the squared is not affecting the 3, the squared is not affecting the 10. The only thing that's squared here is the bracket. Okay, so be careful with your BIDMAS. If you write something like 4 times 10 squared, the answer to that is 400, not 1600, right? Because this is definitely 4 lots of 100. This is not 40 squared. All right, so just be careful with that. All right, so just a side note there, that's why I'm not squaring the 10 as well, and I'm not squaring the 3. The squared only squares the bracket here, okay, just like you're used to from expressions like that. Okay, I'm now going to go ahead and do the FOIL, so leave this 10 alone for the moment, but I'm going to have to introduce some brackets here because it's going to be 10 lots of all of this simplified. If I didn't write brackets, then it would only be multiplying the very first thing by 10. So 10 lots of whatever's coming up now. So 2n times 2n, 4n squared. 2n times minus 1 is minus 2n. That's minus 1 times 2n, take away another 2n. Careful here, minus 1 times minus 1 is positive 1. All right, now I'm taking away 3 lots of all of this stuff. So n times n is n squared. N times 4 is 4n. There's another 4n. 4 times 4 is 16. I think what I'd like to do next is to collect like terms within the brackets, that is. So let's simplify this first set of brackets first. Minus 2n, take away another 2n is minus 4n. Add 1, take away 3 lots of n squared. 4n and 4n is 8n. And now I'll expand my brackets, I think expand my square brackets, that is. 10 lots of 4n, that's 40 n squared. Minus 40n plus 10. Minus 3 times n squared is minus 3n squared. Minus 3 times positive 8 is minus 24n. Minus 3 times positive 16 is minus 48. You can use a calculator if some of these get a bit awkward. And now I can collect like terms. Looks like this time nothing's going to disappear completely. It looks like I'm going to have n squared, n's, and numbers left at the end. So 40n squared, take away 3n squared is 37n squared. So I've dealt with the n squareds now. Minus 40n, take away another 24n is minus 64n. And finally, positive 10, take away 48, minus 38. And I'm done.